In this video, I'm going to show you the one purchase that I made that changed my relationship with money forever. And I promise you, like, this is not clickbait or anything like that. Literally, like, this one purchase literally changed everything for me. And I decided in that moment that I am never ever going back. Now, before I share what that is, let me give you some backstory, because maybe you are very similar to me in terms of how we used to be, and maybe you're getting out of where you used to be and getting even further where you really want to go. But for me, I would spend money on other people, but I would never spend money on myself. I remember one Christmas, I spent like $2,500 on my family and friends and things like that, but I would not buy myself anything. I was very cheap, and it really came from past programming. And it's like at a young age, I remember wanting some shoes that was not really expensive at the time when you really think about it, and I was told no. And so unconsciously, it developed this belief that I wasn't enough. Like if these shoes are on sale and they're the lowest they've ever been, and I can't even get these shoes, then that means that I'm not even worth the price of these shoes. And so it just caused me to continuously be in this cycle of not feeling like I'm enough. And I remember doing everything that I could to save money. And it's like saving money was almost like a badge of honor for me, but I did not realizing that it was reinforcing a poverty mindset. You may not know what this is, but I used to live in Michigan, and in Michigan, there you get 10 cents when you return bottles, like when you buy pop or soda, whatever you want to call it, and when you return it, you get 10 cents for that. Well, I used to go around and just look for cans, like I was a homeless person, looking for cans and trying to get as many cans as I can, because I made a deal with myself that when I was in high school, I would never ever spend my own money to put gas in my car. The only way that I would put gas in my car is if somebody else gave me gas money, or I used cans to put gas in my car, but I would never spend my money. And that was a deal that I made with myself, and I held true to that all throughout high school. And what I did is it really damaged me, because even with the badge of honor situation, like I used to do so many other things that was in alignment with those same things of saving money and not spending money over here, and being cheap with myself. And it just reinforced something that was deeper than what people even realize. And at the time, I wanted to feel significant. I think we all want to feel significant on some level. And so when I started to be known as somebody who was cheap, I took it, I bought into it. I took it even a step further. And I remember even on weekends, and I used to go out with friends and hang out and things like that. And our hangout spot was McDonald's. We didn't really have a lot to do at that time, but our hangout spot was McDonald's. And I remember before I left home, I would actually grab a slice of cheese and bring with me to McDonald's, because it was cheaper to buy a hamburger and put cheese on it versus buying a cheeseburger, because it was like 20 cents extra for cheese. And I'm like, man, I can buy a whole stack of Kraft cheese for like $2, and I can get a lot of slices, and those slices end up being like 5 cents. So why would I pay 15 more cents for cheese? And you think about like how petty that is, but also how does that look to other people on the outside, but again, all of my friends, it was funny to them, and they bought into it, and and that made me feel good, because I was known for this. Like all of these, funny stories was told about Chris and how he's saving money, and how he's going to be a millionaire one day because he's saving all this money. But what people didn't realize is that those behaviors was the very thing from keeping me from ever getting to the millionaire status, because I did not feel worthy enough, and I didn't feel like I deserved to ever be at that status. And so it's like when you reinforce a poverty mindset, it causes you to seek out things that are only reinforcing the poverty that you already have in your mindset and your belief. And I remember in 2010, that's when everything changed for me. And I made this one purchase, and for transparency, I used to read a lot of books. I used to listen to a lot of audios, and I used to listen to audiobooks back in the day. And I would always go to the library. I would never buy books. I remember reading Rich Dad Poor Dad like years and years ago. I got it from the library. And I never invested in myself. Like, even though I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, reading books, like I would never invest in things. And I didn't realize that when you don't invest, you're literally slowing down time, but you're also limiting your growth, because there are some things that can only be unlocked through experience. And some things that can only be unlocked through experience, you can only get access it to those people who are charging a high price because they value what they had to go through to get it. And it's like, if you can pay a lump sum of money to get that, you're expediting your time. And we all, let me say this, many of us have said, tomorrow is not promised. But if we really thought that tomorrow is not promised, would we spend more money getting something faster than taking a lot more time and doing it ourselves? Of course we would. So a lot of times what we say and what we do is two different things, because what we believe is really like exemplified in our actions. And even though I used to say all the time, tomorrow is not promised and time is the most valuable asset that you have, I would never invest in anything that would even expedite that time, because I felt like it wasn't worth it. Oh, I can get it done for free. Why would I pay somebody to do something that I can get done for free? And in 2010, that was the first time that I ever made what I thought was a major investment in myself from a business perspective. And at that time, that was when product launch formulas was really popular and people were doing product launches and things like that. And there was this guy, I had never even heard of him before, but I got on his webinar. The first time that I ever heard of him, I got on his webinar. He sold a program for $2,000 at the time. Now, he's probably not even in business anymore, but that was one of the best investments that I ever made in myself from a business perspective, even after all of these years. And I've invested in some great things. I invested in books and audios and different programs and even high premium programs. But that one investment, that kicked everything off for me, because it finally communicated to myself that I'm worth it, that I'm valuable. Because even right now, people have phenomenal programs, people have phenomenal information to share, but they're literally robbing people because they're not charging enough for it. And it's like, sometimes when you don't charge people enough for the experience, they're only valuing the experience based on how much you charge them. And if you give somebody $1 million experience, but you only charge them $7, they'll never get the $1 million full experience out of it because they only paid $7 for it. And it's like, when I paid $2,000 for that program, it literally gave me permission to charge the exact same amount. Because sometimes when you're in business, you can't charge more than you're willing to invest. And it's a lot, and a lot of times, we don't realize that sometimes, even if programs don't even deliver on whatever they're talking about, sometimes it's more important of who you become as a result of making the investment. Because there's been times where I've made, investments where I don't even tell my family about it because they would not understand. And I remember even 3 or 4 years ago after recording this video, I invested in one program and it was $75,000 for a year. Now, people might say that is crazy, that's stupid, irresponsible. That was an incredible investment, and I got a return on my investment that was at least 3 times the amount that I paid. And I'll say this, even the program that I invested in 2010, that program, I can't even tell you how many times over that program has paid for itself, because that was the foundation for everything. That allowed me to understand my worth. It allowed me to understand other people at a higher level. It allowed me to serve people at a higher level. And it allowed me to go forward and move forward with a confidence of really serving people and charging people and really getting them to invest in themselves, and even overcoming some of the same negative relationships with money that I had by helping them to invest in themselves and realizing on the other side that they're also worth it. And sometimes we don't realize one of the biggest ways that you can clearly see within yourself that you have a negative relationship with money is how you talk about things that you don't agree with the price on. You think about, if you've ever said this, that something is too expensive. Think about how many times maybe you've said that, or you hear other people say that. When you say something is too expensive, what you're communicating is that this is too valuable for me. This is outside of my budget. This is more than I can afford. However, the more accurate or the more effective way to say it that's actually going to serve you is to say that, this is overpriced. Because when you say something is overpriced, it's not that you can't afford it. It just means that you don't agree with their evaluation. But when you say something is too expensive, that communicates to your conscious and your subconscious mind that you can't afford it. And so whenever you see whatever that is, your subconscious mind is going to immediately remind you that you can't afford this. versus when you say that something is overpriced, because there's a lot of things that are overpriced based on your perspective. But when you say something is overpriced, it just means that you don't agree with their evaluation of what they price whatever this is at. And it's like when you think about that, that's never communicating to your subconscious or conscious mind that you can't afford it, that you're not enough. It just means that we just disagree with what they price it at. And that's okay. We can disagree all the time, but that's not an attack on who you are as an individual. And so often we don't realize that our language reinforces negative beliefs, and negative beliefs reinforces actions, and actions reinforce what we say, and it becomes this loop. And it's like, for me, when I made that purchase in 2010, like, it literally changed so many other areas of my life in terms of even relationships. It's like I stopped even like putting up with certain people. I raised my standard. Like, my relationship changed around me, and it's like people started to respect me in a way because now I respected myself and I value myself in a way that I didn't before. And so that one purchase had such a ripple effect in so many areas of my life. And it's like when I made that choice to invest in myself, it took a lot, but it was so worth it. And if you've ever wanted something and you've, spent money on all these other people and spent money on all these other things, but you feel like, hey, you're not worth it, like, I challenge you, especially if it's something that's going to make you more money, I challenge you to truly evaluate, is this something that's going to change the trajectory of your life and other areas of your life in a way that's more valuable than any money you could ever spend on a program? Now, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying just go out and blow your money and be irresponsible and buy all of these liabilities. I'm not saying that whatsoever. Because reality is this video, it's not about programs that I invested in. It's not about courses. It's not about anything that I really purchased. This video is more so about your relationship with money. Because sometimes people even overspend because of their relationship with money. Sometimes having money means that, there's going to be an argument. Like, people are going to argue over this amount of money that I have, or people are going to fight over because I gave this person money versus that person. And that might even stem from childhood. And so some people find it just easier if they just don't have money, period. That just eliminates all of the arguing. Or on the other side, people have found money to be something where people fight over, like they kill each other over. And so they have a negative association with money being something that causes violence. And so they find some kind of way to spend it. But either way, sometimes people have a negative relationship with money, and no matter how much money that they get, they find some kind of way to get back broke because they are not comfortable with it. And this video is more so about your relationship with money. And if there's a purchase that you can make to help you improve your relationship with money, and even if you're great with money, there's still always room for improvement. But if you can find some kind of way to invest in something to improve your relationship with money and even prove to your subconscious mind that you're worth it, you're valuable, and you're deserving of it, that is money well spent. Listen, if you got any value from this video, I want to ask you to hit that subscribe button, but also let me know in the comments below if there's any area of like money where you've struggled in terms of your relationship with it. If you've struggled with it, somebody else has also struggled with it as well. And sometimes it just takes that one person to communicate with courage what they experience, and then you see other people do the same thing, because literally a lot of times when we take that first step, we give other people permission to do the exact same thing. And for me, this was something that I used to be very ashamed of. I felt guilty. I wouldn't talk about it. And it's like, now I see that it's not just me. It wasn't just me, but other people have struggled with this as well. And it's like you literally give people the ability to liberate themselves by way of you being honest about your situation. So again, comment below and let me know if there's any area of money that you struggle with your relationship, or you didn't purchase something because you feel like it was too expensive, or just maybe something else related to money that maybe I didn't even cover, that you might even help other people with your comments below. But I look forward to reading your comments and responding, and I also look forward to seeing you in the next video.